District One Factory initiative, amongst other programs under the Industrial Transformation Agenda of government, is designed to transform the industrial landscape of this country and build the capacities of local entrepreneurs and existing enterprises to produce high-quality products and services for both domestic and foreign markets.
President Akufo-Addo speaking at the start curtain of the first factory under the One District, One Factory at the Kumfinana Bin in the Central Region.
On Hotline today, I traveled to the Central Region and other parts of the country to follow up on government flagship program, the One District, One Factory, and I also look at the product of these factories.
Incorporation was done in 2014 October, but actual operation started in 2015 in terms of the land development and then the construction of a dam. This took us up to early 2018 when the government policy of 1D, 1F came into effect. And then we did a proposal which ended up in the EXIM Bank for a new factory to be built, which has been completed as we speak.
Ebenezer Obin-Bafo is the Chief Executive Officer of Casa Europa, a factory established under the government's One District, One Factory project. The company was established to process the fresh roots of the orange flesh sweet potato. These potatoes are turned into flour, which is used to make bread and other pastries.
Casa Europa is not producing, and the reason is lack of cash. In October 2018, the funding stopped. At that time, almost 50% of the funds has been released by the EXIM Bank of Ghana. But unfortunately, it stopped. It took the bank a whole year, up to October 2019, with the intervention of the board, including the board chairman, who paid a visit to the factory at that time in October 2019, and realizing where we were, we could finish it up. Then an order was made for the funds to be released. Thank God the funds were released immediately. I think 2 weeks after the board visit, we got the needed fund. By that time, there was a cost overrun, but we were bent on completing the factory. So we made EXIM Bank aware that we will finish the factory on time. Thank God by 2020, between March and May, the factory, as you see it today, has been completed. At that time, there was no money for operation. At that time, we were in COVID. So upon completion, we did not operate. We made the bank aware that for us to start operation, we needed an amount of 3 million cedis, because there were still strategic assets that we need to buy. Along the line, the bank made us aware that they will give us the money. So based on that, we even have to look for additional resources somewhere to be able to prepare the factory for commissioning, which was done in 21st of August 2020.
But what has become of the factory after its commissioning by the president 2 years ago?
The bank itself engaged a consultant by name Agri-Impact, and they did their own independent assessment as to how much the company needed. And this was also completed in 2021. In December 2021, when we were not hearing from the bank, we reached out to this consultant and he said that EXIM Bank said they will not give further funding. and therefore we should start paying. Then I asked the consultant, pay with what? As we speak now, the price of flour is going up. The price of potato remains the same. I'll give you the scenario. In 2018, the average price of a ton of a flour, wheat flour, was around 3,000 cedis, retail price. It cost us less than 1,000 Ghana to produce a ton of sweet potato. Today, as we speak, October 30th, 2022, the same price of ton of wheat flour is 12,000. That is 4 times the figures in 2018. But because of the dam already existing irrigation system, it will still cost us 1,000 Ghana to produce a ton. However, because we do not have the working capital to produce, whenever we produce the sweet, even the little you produce, you have to stack them in a reefer container. And because you don't have the logistics to produce the break-even point, or even what called like operational activity, we are not able to produce. And that has been the story. So as we speak now, we are looking for alternatives, i.e. investors, or any other person we can partner. Because we've been engaging EXIM Bank year in, year out. And the story is they can't give us the money. And at this stage, the company has no cash flow to go out and borrow from its own cash flow. That is the issue. If the company has operated, because if management was made aware that EXIM Bank was not going to give us the money upon completion to operate the factory, there was no way we would spend our last peso to commission the project. If you look at the activity leading towards the commissioning, we needed to pave the area, and that cost us a lot of money. That money could have gone into sales, because we don't need to pave our factory before we sell product. But we needed to complete the factory and put it in a shape that is reasonable. Everyone knows that. So once we were committed in making sure that the factory was operational, everything was okay, the delay alone caused the cost overrun. And we tried as much as possible to make to the bank, give us a minimum amount of money. Let's operate. Even 3 months, 6 months, we'll have our own cash flow. Once the cash flow is there, it should be easy for us to borrow on our own balance sheet and start operation.
Petersfield and Ray Limited is a manufacturing company under the One District, One Factory, established in 2018. It was established to produce high-quality natural fruit juice.
We started building this factory way back in 2014. And with the help of EXIM Bank, we were able to complete it the year 2018. The purpose of establishing this factory was to enhance the fruits in the central region to produce natural juices. So we started with a farm of 206 acres around Komenda and Tado, where we started growing pineapple and ginger.
Located at Elmina, the factory relies on local farmers to support its smallholder farmers. Farmers in the area were excited after the commissioning of the factory because the situation where fruits were left to rot at the farm gate will be a thing of the past.
Production has gone down due to lack of finances, and also the high cost of electricity and other inputs like fuel. It's made the cost of production so high. We needed some form of money to revamp some of the machines to make it much efficient. So now, we've halted the production of PET bottled juices. Initially, EXIM Bank gave us 6.75 million Ghana cedis. Periodically, they were coming here to check how the program was going. We were informing them of our problems, and also we needed some form of more capital to make our operations functional and also profitable. They even sent some experts to come and see our needs, then report back to EXIM Bank. But nothing has been heard from them since, I think it's about 2 years ago. Today is 27th. They're expected to be paid by the end of the month. I don't know where I'm going to conjure the cash to pay them. Fuel bills have built up. Electricity came to disconnect just this afternoon. I had to go into my own resources to go and pay for them to reconnect the electricity. I don't know if now I'm in a dilemma as to fold up or not. It can happen soon. It can happen anytime from now.
But it appears all is not well with the factory. Today, the processing plants have been shut. The factory is eerily quiet. Power to the plant had been disconnected on the day of my visit.
Payment has been demanded long ago. It's more than 2-3 years now. But anytime they came, I told them there were problems that we need to solve before making profits. And that is too difficult to pay, to be honest with you. But they still demand it. But I said I don't have it because I'm running at a loss. Like I told you earlier on, some of the machines had to be changed. You need to change a whole lot of things for us to be able to have a seamless production process. So if they had given that money in the beginning, it would have been somewhere else. And for both the farm to increase the size of the farm, to increase production and sell. So if my financiers can't give you more money to do AZ, how do I pay what I'm supposed to pay? I wish I can get some investors to come to my aid because it's a viable. If you look at the business plan, it's a viable project. And if you can get somebody who can bring the capital and the machines that is needed. This is one of the few factories in the region. That's one of the few factories in the region. And we are closer to Ivory Coast, closer to Takoradi, the seaport and whatnot.
The shutdown of the factories has had a huge consequence on employment in the operational areas of the companies.
When the factory was working, I could use my monthly earnings to support the upkeep of my family. I was even able to use my salary to support my grandchild's senior high school education. If the situation now existed before, I'm not sure I could have supported my grandchild's education.
Kwadwo Nyarko is one of the 130 people who were dismissed by Casa Europa Company Limited. Today, she has no job.
The man has never defaulted in paying our monthly salaries, but now he owes us more than 3 months. This is not how it used to be in the past. When the factory had not been supported by government, things were very okay. All that the man used to do for the communities here, he's unable to do them again. We thought government support would rather help us, but that's not the situation.
Diana Bequin was Akufo-Addo's colleague at Casa Europa. She sits under a hut in her farm, wondering where the next meal will come from.
We don't
really know the status of the company now, whether the company has collapsed or is now collapsing. We are imploring government to inject funds into the company for it to run again. When we started this job, we were receiving our salary every month. Now, we don't receive salaries anymore, and so we are unable to support our children's education and their upkeep. We are just pleading with government to intervene.
Kwadwo Nyarko and Diana are among hundreds across the country whose hopes have been dashed and are going through difficulties to support their families. Ghana imports flour, fruit juice, rice, matchsticks, cooking oil, and many products from all parts of the globe. The country is yet to recover from the shocks arising out of the Russia-Ukraine war. President Akufo-Addo put it aptly.
Has since the beginning of this year been further aggravated by the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which has worsened the economic outlook of the entire world. We in Ghana have not escaped this development, and the consequences are being felt in rising living costs at our markets and at fuel stations. The terrible events in Ukraine have a direct impact on our lives here in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, 30% of our wheat, flour, and fertilizer imports come from Russia. 60% of iron rods and other metal sheets are imported from the Ukraine. And almost 20% of Ghana's manganese is shipped to the Ukraine. The bombs might be dropping on cities half a world away, but they are hitting our pockets here in Ghana. Even so, we have managed to ensure that fuel supplies have not been disrupted, unlike in several other parts of the world. Difficulties we face, the raft of measures we're introducing to bring relief and restore us to economic growth.
But will this position ever change? According to the Ghana Trading Statistics, in 2021, Ghana's import of goods stood at $22.13 billion, a 77.55% increase from 2020.
If a country imports more than it exports, it creates a trade deficit. And if a country imports less than it exports, it creates a trade surplus. When a country like Ghana runs a trade deficit, it puts pressure on its domestic currency, causing depreciation. It's like a new household that is starting out. They need to borrow to buy furniture, to buy a car, to buy everything there. Their income isn't enough to cater for everything that they need in that particular household. That has become the lot of Ghana.
The woes of the one district, one factories are not limited to Casa Europa and Petersfield and Ray Group Limited. There are dozens of such factories across the country that are in the same state as the ones in the central region. Ghana has been importing cylinders for many years. But this huge importation of cylinders should have changed with the establishment of the cylinder manufacturing company located in the Ewutu-Breko district.
When we did all the analysis, looking at the benefits that they were giving us, at the end of the day, our cost per unit of the product came even lower than what those who were importing from China were actually getting. So immediately we began our operations and we put our price out. This problem of import substitution, most of the people who were then importing immediately then decided to shift towards us. So at least in our presence immediately killed a problem that this country was actually faced with in the area of cylinder importation. Everything was fine up to the time when I think the Chinese themselves, because basically this most of the people who were importing the cylinders were doing that from China. Some of the factories there who felt that immediately they realized the demand on them had reduced and people were rather concentrated on that in Ghana. Then they mobilized and brought a factory here to come and compete with us.
The patronage of the cylinders was huge, but today the company is out of business. Philip Asefwa is the CEO of the company.
Immediately we began our operations and we put our price out. This problem of import substitution, most of the people who were then importing immediately then decided to shift towards us. So at least in our presence immediately killed a problem that this country was actually faced with in the area of cylinder importation. Everything was fine up to the time when I think the Chinese themselves, because basically this, most of the people who were importing the cylinders were doing that from China. Some of the factories there who felt that immediately they realized the demand on them had reduced and people were rather concentrated on that Ghana. Then they mobilized and brought a factory here to come and compete with us.
Factory.
Currently, my understanding is around getting to Pram area. The unfortunate thing is that these people that came, not knowing to us, they happen to be the people we even invited to come and help in setting up our own. So when they came and they set up our own, and I think they saw the prospect of what we were doing. In fact, for us, when they came to work for us for a while, we realized that, oh, okay, at least we then had gotten some Ghanaian engineers, and we felt they could take over. So we asked them to leave. So when they left, just about some 6 months later, we heard that they had come back to the system and they were working out, opening a new factory. We were shocked. Then suddenly, recently, we heard that they had flooded the market with cylinders that in their country will be sold at $15 per one for a unit. They have brought that cylinder here and selling it at less than $7. And if you look at the cost structure that produces that cylinder, the steel element alone, the cost, is more than that $7. So you clearly could see that this was an agenda. And of course, when they came and they started this, we had to stop. And so now, if you come to our factory, of course, you'll be shocked. We are now getting to almost close to 200,000 cylinders. We cannot send one out because of what these guys are doing. These Chinese, they just came in, took over the market, cut the price down, and probably they are doing this for some time. So they realize that the Ghanaian factories have died down. Once we die down, they will come back. And what that means also is that in the future, 2 years from today, don't be surprised that they will be in charge of cylinder production in this country. And when we are suffering, we are struggling, we are talking about exchange rate challenges, they will pack their dollars and take it away. In times like this, when a Ghanaian from Okanshin has set up almost a $10 billion factory. So that is the challenge we are faced with.
Philip Asifua paints a gloomy picture about their investments. He said their investments are under a serious threat and government should ensure that Ghanaian businesses are highly protected.
A nation supposed to be there for its people. China developed their country, they blocked everybody and they developed their country. Deliberate policies, protecting themselves and making sure they got to where they are. Now they are rich and they are now hitting us. We cannot continue to talk about level playing field. Because what they are doing, this is a direct attack on us in our own country. My brother, if you come to the factory, you'll be shocked. You'll see the cylinders plenty. We can't take them out. And workers are working. By December, we have to let them go home. Because we have no option. We have no option. We have to let them go home. This was a factory commissioned by the president just about 2 months ago. We were doing fine until this thing happened. We've written to certain agencies that we were expecting to at least come in, and I was shocked. And let me put on record, Ghana Standard Authority, I am extremely disappointed in them. To today, look, I may not be whatever, but my understanding in that all agencies in Ghana, they work together. There is a common goal of that is Ghana, so that all that we are doing will benefit the country. We went there, we asked them, why should you even license such people? Because the reason why we put that question to them was, when we were about to set up our factory, we met Tampuli, the then MPA chief executive, in his office, and he told us plainly that this area we are moving into is purely reserved for Ghanaians, 100%. They said it's part of the downstream petroleum industry, purely reserved for Ghanaians. They even warned us that even if we start, and in the course of time they discover that there is a foreign interest they will stop us. Now, and Abasokai man, Ghanaians, we have come together, mobilized, and built the factory. Today, GIPC, Ghana Investment Promotion Center, they have given these Chinese people the right to come and destroy us.